Good evening. Marcus C. Williams here, and welcome to Marcus Made in America. Thanks for tuning in. And we don't have really a rating system to go by, but we're going to say that this is probably NR 17 because there may be some profanity and there may be some things that inflame snowflakes and you might burst into flames. So if you feel that you are soft or if you are a lily liver, do not watch this show. And it may or may not be appropriate for some children. Depends on what age groups they are, or if they're 12 years old and they're carjacking people. So, hey, thanks for tuning in. And I'm going to play with this microphone because that's what I do every episode because I can never seem to quite get it the way I want it. So, I really appreciate you guys tuning in. And just check my levels also to make sure I'm still doing okay here. So, we've got a lot going on in the world today. So, let's jump right in. America's great, right? We've always been great, and we're working on getting greater. But it seems as more things progress this year, since, I guess, well, the last 2 years, really, things have kind of been backsliding. We've been experiencing different issues with sourcing materials. We've been experiencing issues with costs of goods. We've been experiencing issues with even sourcing goods themselves, or I guess it's not really even the sourcing of the goods, but it's kind of the delivery of the goods. That's the real issue. And, you know, I love my nation and I wouldn't be anywhere else for thousands. This is the country I was born in. This is where my lineage is. This is my home. And I like other countries, like Japan is kind of awesome. And I'm sure some other places are too, but I haven't been able to travel the world all over the place like I'd like to. Um, but I love America. But I am definitely deeply concerned about what's going on here right now. I'm a small business owner myself. And one of my businesses, my main business, is a retail business. We sell cell phones. So in my cell phone business, it's like, well, we had an issue last year that started last year with the IC chips. So the chips that are basically in, well, every single electronic item that's out there. Every single electronic item that's out there. So if it turns on and it makes a light or it makes some noise or it shines real bright, it's probably got a chip in there. Okay. Now, these IC chips, microprocessors, whatever you want to call them, okay, are heavily used in computerized electronic equipment. Now, one thing that's heavily computerized is a cell phone, right? So we've been having chip shortages for a while, and it's been seriously impacting us as a business because, well, less inventory. So we've had to lean more on um, renewed and previously owned phones. So that's a really big thing. And if you live in Rochester, shout out to my business at SE Unlimited Phones. Come on down, 570 West Main Street, Rochester, New York, across from the Sunoco near West Main and Jefferson. If you need a phone, we'll hook you up. You need to pay a bill, we'll help you out too. We focus on non-contract devices, so swing on down. We also repair iPhone screens. So if you got an issue with your iPhone screen, we'll fix it. And we also do some other iPhone repairs as well as speakers. Shameless plug. But that being said, we've had to lean more on pre-owned and refurbished phones and renewed devices and certified pre-owned and stuff like that. Me personally, I prefer new electronics. I do my best never to buy used electronics. Okay. That's just me personally. Now, I'm not going to tell you what to do with your life. And my business experience has been that a lot of times some recertified and renewed products actually work pretty well. And you might catch if you're ordering something that is a refurbished product, sometimes you get something good there too. But me myself, I prefer new electronics because I know that I'm the person that's using them and I know what's going on with them. But we've seen this as a horrible, horrible trend in all types of fields. We also saw the chip shortage affect car prices. So if you've noticed, there isn't a large supply of new vehicles out there. So that's something that's impacting people as well. So if you want a new vehicle, the car prices have been way higher, and the chip shortage has been one of the serious issues. Some not chip manufacturers, but car manufacturers in the United States have even slowed down production or stopped production in many times over the year. Well, I should say last year and a half, 16 to 18 months. Um, so this isn't new news to most people. But what is news to a lot of people who are looking for vehicles is the skyrocketing prices of used vehicles. Used vehicle prices are going through the roof. In some cases, used vehicles are costing 15, 20, 27% more than normal. Okay. Why? Because demand is high, supply is low, laws of supply and demand, but also because the people who are selling them are trying to make the money where they can because they don't have those new supply of cars to sell. Also, there aren't used cars rolling in every day because people are hanging on to them longer now. Again, because new cars are not as easy to find as they used to be, and the ones that are out there are getting continuing more pricey and more pricing. So, BMW, I don't drive a BMW. I don't have that level of money right now. And even if I did, I don't know if I'd get a BMW. Um, I prefer an American made car. I'd prefer a Tesla. Dear Elon Musk, if you'd like to sponsor our podcast, please reach out. You or any of your people that work there. We'd be glad to have you as a sponsor. But that being said, we've got a lot of issues going on with vehicles and the fact that used vehicles pricing are going up so high. Now, we're just talking about just the chip shortage. We're not even talking about the materials issues. So, what we're experiencing when we start talking about the sourcing of materials is that we've got a lot of materials that we aren't able to get in the US because of the mining practices and the labor practices that have all been instituted over the last, you say, what are we in November now? Last 10 months because we got a new president. So, since we've got our new president now, um, it's been kind of rough, right? If you're in heavy industries, you know this. Um, if you deal with heavy industries at all, you know this as well. So, it's not just oil, it's not just coal that's been hit hard, it's rare earth materials. Now, if you're not familiar with rare earth materials, think of lithium for batteries. That's a rare earth material. Why is it called rare? Well, because it's rare, you know, and we've only got a limited supply of it, finite in the world. Kind of why the cost of gold is so much, because all the gold that's ever been mined could fit into the base of the Statue of Liberty. Go figure. But when it comes to those rare earth materials, because of the way that the Department of Management of Land Management and the Department of the Interior has come down crushingly on mining businesses, has seriously impacted the market. So all of your consumer goods that take those things are more expensive now. Let me tell you about rare earth materials and what they're in. Again, if it's electronics and it plugs in or it powers up, you probably got some rare earth minerals in there. Drink water. Anyway, with that being said, that's not the only place that we're seeing serious issues in our economy. We've got the rising cost of wood, right? They'll tell you, oh, well, the cost of wood is going up because all of those lumber mills got shut down and then they couldn't find workers when they started to open back up. Well, first of all, the lumber mills shouldn't have been shut down to begin with, but that's not what we're not going to talk about that. Some of the lumber mills had to be shut down because of all of the fires in California because of, well, poor brush management. And not just poor brush management. I mean, right? They warn us about climate change all the time, and they seem to do no preparation for what's coming and what we experience all the time. I'm just saying, tell me climate change is a thing, it's an emergency, it needs to be addressed. Well, if we know that it's coming more and more and it's here already, why aren't we prepared for it? Because you failed to prepare us for it. And who am I talking about? I'm talking about our elected officials. They failed to prepare us because we got some comments here. Austin, what we got going on here? All right. Yeah. Mike says my 2016 Toyota Corolla is worth more now than it was in June of 2018 when I bought it. See? Goes to show you right there. And everybody knows once you drive a car off the lot, it depreciates by 10% immediately. So that's kind of funny, right? So now used car prices are going up higher than when you buy them. But again, back to the wood issue and the brush management over there in California and the need for preparation for climate issues. I live in Rochester, New York, which is right here on the Great Lakes on Lake Ontario. We've got a lot of water here, and it's very desirable to extremely affluent people who are starting to move into the area and push everyone out. So a lot of people talk about gentrification and they talk, well, oh, it's a race-based thing. No, it's not. It's a socioeconomic based thing, and it has been that way for the last couple of decades. So people really need to look at it that way. The issue that people are failing to see is, why does it impact minorities so much? Well, that's because they tend to be more likely to be impoverished, especially if they're in urban centers. So, and what's being popularized right now? Urban centers. Basically, what we're experiencing is a large amount of reverse white flight, except it's not really reverse white flight. What it is an influx of people who have more money, who are more affluent from mostly other parts of the country. That's something to really think about. Now, talking about preparation for what's going on as far as the nature, the environment, the climate, all of that. Again, we have a lot of fresh water here. So more people are starting to migrate from the places that have burnt down or caught on fire, like California, uh, Arizona, Nevada, because it's too hot there and they don't have any water. Ask me why I don't leave New York State. Ask me why I don't leave Rochester, because this is where the water is. I know what time it is. I just want to wake you up and let you know too. With what's going on in California, a lot of Californians are moving to New York. New York was not the best to begin with, but don't California my New York. Austin, can we not New York my New York right now? How about that? It's just.
Oh yeah, you can't New York in New York.
Don't New York my New York, because what's going on right now in New York is atrocious. So they're pushing all of these things under the guise of what is it? Water rights and air rights and everything rights for everybody, and it's ludicrous. Okay, they say that it's about environmentalism and stuff like that, but you're a god darn it lie. I'm an environmental conservationist. You're lying to people. I see you. I see you. Excuse me, I burp. Ask me how I really feel. But yeah, no. It's kind of really crazy what's going on right now. It's also extremely concerning. You want to know why it's really concerning? Because if people are migrating from California to the upstate New York region, we're going to see more of an influx of that happening, and people that live here already being dispersed because of rising costs, a lot of that due to what we're talking about right now. Okay, the shortages, the lack of materials, and stuff like that. That's one of the big factors. But an even more serious factor is inflation. And with inflation, we've got our own issues because prices on everything are going up. They're really skyrocketing out of control. In many places across the nation, rent has gone up 24%. In places like what are we talking? Phoenix, okay. Houston, I think, is up like 15% year over year. Okay. So these rents are outpacing any type of wage growth that you could think of. Okay. And that's just rents, right? So if we start to talk about food and we talk about things like meat and we start to talk about things like dairy, start to talk about things like that, you got to see the skyrocketing prices on that as well. You know, I mean, you go look at and see for a turkey for Thanksgiving, see how much it costs right now. You will be like, listen, we're about to eat spam. And then you're going to go get the can of spam and look at the price of spam. And you're going to be like, well, geez, is dog kibble on sale? And I say it as a joke, but really that's the direction that we're going in if inflation continues this way. I think the metric for retirees coming back into the workforce is about 2.5% of all people who retired last year have rejoined the workforce. So that's something that's really insane and unheard of. And a large part of the reason is, well, everything costs more now. Everything costs more. And that's really, really troubling. When inflation first started, well, before inflation, I was warning people about inflation. They're like, oh, no, it's not going to be an issue. And then, well, boom, we started to see it on everything. Okay. Now that it's here, you know, first the White House told us, oh, it's not even real. Then they told us, oh, it's just transitory. Transitory. What does transitory even mean? They made that up just to dissuade you. You know, let's use big, flowerful, colorful language to just make people think that it's not a real issue. And people bought it. People were like, oh, no, it's not a big thing. It'll go away. No, inflation does not go away. Okay. How much is a pack of gum now? 50 cents? 65? How much is a pack of gum, Austin?
Something like that. It's getting nuts.
Jesus, right? Pack of gum when I was little was 25 cents. Okay. And I remember it when it was 10 cents. And I'm not that old. So I know people's grandparents will tell you it was a nickel or it might have been a penny. I don't know. You know, Austin, what do you remember prices of packs of gum when you were little?
You know, when you brought it up, my instinct was to say 15 cents.
15 cents.
Yep.
So, yeah, you know, so it's like if you look at that and it was 50 cents before it was like 50 35 45 cents before inflation, you know? And that's just a pack of gum. So that's showing you that the prices do not decrease because there's general inflation over time. As more people come, more money tends to get printed. As more money gets printed, the cost and the value of the dollar, well, the value of the dollar goes down. Also, you have the issues of when the dollar value goes down and prices increase, that means your money isn't going to spread as far. So that means that now it's going to cost you more in your pocketbook or in your wallet every week. Okay. And it's true, you know, before the whole pandemic issue and everything, they were saying that most American families don't have $400 for an emergency stored away. Now, people are in debt, you know, like if it was student debt, it'd be good because they're trying to get rid of all the student debt, right? They said that they just erased $2 billion for the worth of student debt for 30,000 people. We're not going to talk about that right now, but bully to them. So that being said, as we continue to look at rising inflation, now the White House wants to decide, oh, it's a real thing. It's a real thing, but don't worry about it. It's going to go down. Okay. So, can we talk about the rise in gas prices? So, the rise in gas prices is astronomical. Austin drives a little small thing so that he can get around and keep some extra money in his pocket, right, Austin?
Oh yeah, little tiny car.
So, how has your tank been hit by the increase in gas?
Oh man, it feels like it's doubled. Like the price of gas is nuts. You know, I don't know, I have like a 9-gallon tank and it's, you know, over $30 to fill it. It's nuts.
Yeah, it's really insane right now. So, the first thing our current president did when he got into office, let's shut down the pipelines. Okay. But of course, that has nothing to do with the gas prices, as they'll tell you, even though oil gets turned into gas. And he was over there crying to OPEC, "Oh, OPEC, please increase your output. America needs you." OPEC's like, suck a camel's big toe. So it's crazy. It really is, because the president of the United States of America shut down this pipeline, pissed off Canada, pissed off the First Nations people, which we would consider Native Americans in America, pissed them off because that was coming from the tar sands, which they had their reservations on and was their land and would have made the First Nations people a lot of money. So not only did Biden stick it to Canada, he stuck it to the Native Americans because, hey, that's what Democratic presidents do. Stick it to the Native Americans because they just hate them some Native Americans, don't they? It's insane. Here's the deal. Do you guys know who founded the Democratic Party in the United States of America? It was Andrew Jackson. Do you know what Andrew Jackson's nickname was? Do you know, Austin, what Andrew Jackson's nickname was?
Old Hickory?
Okay. What was his other name? He had a couple. Old Hickory was
Yeah,
one of them.
he had a few.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll let you say the one you're thinking of.
So, well, he was also known as the Jackass, which is why the Democrats logo was a donkey. Okay. Because he was called the Jackass because he was a damn jackass. Okay. But he was also known as the Indian Killer. You know that one?
Yeah, I've heard that somewhere.
Because he's the one who started the Trail of Tears, which marched all the Native Americans from Georgia all the way to Oklahoma, which were my people, okay, mostly to Cherokee. I'm Cherokee from Georgia. Fuck that dude and the Democratic Party while we're at it, because they're just completely out of line right now. Out of line, out of leadership, and they should really be out of time. But unfortunately, after this election, they've still seemed to be able to rustle up a lot of power and control across the nation. I'm not saying that the Republican Party is perfect, but I'm saying right now it's a bastion of hope in a dark time for our nation. Okay. I mean, I wish I could say like the Libertarian Party or the Green Party or somebody else really had something going on the cap right now, but they just don't have the numbers or the money. So, but yeah. Oh, we got a comment here. What? Social Security, retirement, disability. What's that? COLA increased it's set for 5.9% below the recent inflationary rate that excludes food and energy. Elderly especially are in need of help. Oh no. Don't talk about people that are on fixed incomes and the inflation. Did you see the cost of Medicare is going Medicare or Medicaid? Medicaid, right? Because that's for the old people. Medicaid. The cost of Medicaid is it Medicaid? I always mix the two up. Do you know?
Yeah, no, Medicaid.
Medicaid. So the cost of Medicaid is going up more. Okay. Why is the cost of Medicaid going up? Because the cost of drugs are going up. But it's which is another thing, right? Didn't Trump pass the favored nation clause, okay, for drug negotiation prices with Medicaid and drug companies? Okay. Didn't he also pass the right to try, so that people that were in the need of life-saving drugs that were on the possible door of death could try whatever drugs that they want, whether they were experimental, not for use of that purpose or anything like that? But all of a sudden, the new president came in and just poof, we don't care about your insulin costs. Fuck your insulin costs. Poof. We don't want to save you any money. You need cancer, chemo, and stuff like that. Poof. We don't want to save you any money. But this is supposed to be the president that's out here for the people. I mean, you guys have to really make it make sense to me. I mean, and then this isn't, we're not going to say the president, right? Because clearly he has some serious issues going on right now with his age, and that's impacting him very harshly. His wife needs her behind whooped, and she needs to be jailed for elder abuse because she's just dragging this, her and Nancy Pelosi, okay? They are mistreating this man. I mean, I guess he's really a kind of a not too positive person, and himself throughout his history, and putting all the black people in jail with his crime bills and stuff like that, you know. But hey, we're not going to talk about that today. But it's really the administration, because he's not steering the boat, you know. He's not. And that's really, really a serious issue on the world stage, because people don't even know who's running things over here. It's definitely not Harris, because she's absent. She's always fighting with her own people inside her own offices. They don't like the way she's doing her job. And then she'll get on the TV and cackle because that's the best that she can do. And then she wants to complain, oh, well, they're putting me in a job where I don't have the skill set. So hire somebody for the skill set. Well, they're putting me in a job and I'm not familiar with it. So find somebody that's familiar with it. You're the vice freaking president of the United States of America. Step the fuck up. Okay. And I'm not saying that I like Harris, because I do not. Okay. I have some serious, strong, real reservations about it. Her. We're not going to talk about it. But aside from that, you are the president. And, well, mostly, right? Because the president isn't really the president. So she would have to be the next leader in line. And now she's whining, right? Because she's like, oh, the stuff that they're putting me in charge of is making me look bad. And I want to run and I want to be the president. Boo hoo, boo hoo. Pity me. Pity you. You're the vice president. Weren't you trying to make it look like you were some strong black woman? Which you're not black. She's not black. Okay? She's not. Find a person from India and tell them that they're black. They can be the darkest Indian that you can find. They're not going to tell you. They're going to tell you they're not black. And Jamaicans do not associate with being black either. Okay? Because Jamaicans will tell you real quick they're not black, and they will be ready to fight you because being black is a strictly American concept. Okay? It's strictly American. Anywhere else you go in the world, there are no black people. Okay? That's only American. So when people that are more melanated hear the term black, automatically they're like, those are Americans that are melanated. Okay? So that's what that is. Now, when it comes to her leadership and the absence of it, it makes you really start to wonder. So is it Pete Buttigieg? Okay, who's just, I don't even know what the hell he's doing with the transportation department. Okay, it's just terrible. Okay, they're putting the infrastructure bill had so much terrible stuff in it, but one of the things is that they're going to get the ability for the federal government to shut down your vehicle when they don't want you to drive, under the guise that it's to prevent drunk driving. Okay, fair enough. There's 310 million people in the United States. 10,000 people are injured a year for drunk driving. But you want to make it so all of the people who are driving on the road, even those who don't drink, have the ability for you to shut down their car whenever you feel like it. Because it's not like, right, software and hardware don't malfunction. I mean, it's not like that doesn't leave the opportunity for possible misuse by the federal government, because the federal government would never abuse their power. I mean, oh, wait, but they would. And they have traditionally, consistently, and definitely in present day. Sean, oh yeah, the highways are racist. Pete Buttigieg doesn't want to fix the racist highways. So the previous president, Trump, stated that only, what did he say? 15% of the money in the bill was going to hard infrastructure that we would consider like roads, bridges, stuff like that, which way more of it should be going to it, because if you've driven on a road or seen a dam in the US, we haven't fixed any of it since like the 50s. Okay. Like really. Okay. Which goes to show you that we really need to be, since we're so far advanced in the future now, shouldn't we be using different techniques and materials that should last for hundreds and hundreds of years? I mean, shit, the aqueducts are still in use in many parts of the previous Roman Empire. And that's what, when were those built? Like BC AD, like the beginning, like right after the death, right, Austin?
Oh yeah, a little while ago.
Like dude, like 2,000 years ago, you guys, and they're still in use. And it's funny because I saw there was this meme online where they've got it where this guy is they're talking about how tradespeople work. They were saying that back in ancient times, in Roman era, people didn't even have a degree, a high school diploma or anything, and they were building roads that are still being used today 2,000 years later. And it's true. And then it says, and then came along the engineers. But credit where credit's due. There have been a large amount of advancements in technology and methods and stuff out there. I'd love to see some of this applied to these projects that they're doing. Do you think that they'll get it, or do you think they'll just do the bare minimum like they normally do? Because our government needs to be planning this stuff out for the future, making sure that we have roads that are good for another 50 years. Clearly, if we're not able to get a real solid infrastructure, or infrastructure is costing us so much, you should plan that out and game that out long term. But why? Why, when you can constantly borrow and spend more money and continue to increase the debt ceiling, which also impacts inflation? You guys want to know something else that's harming us real bad right now, aside from just the inflation? Lack of food, right? Because remember, they closed down all the meat plants and told them that they had to kill all the cattle and chickens and stuff like that. I remember that. Do you remember that? You might not even know that happened. That happened. Do you remember that they were dumping millions of gallons of milk out? Do you remember that happened? I remember that happened. Okay. So we really have to look at how much our government has failed us. Okay. And what do we get for the failures of our government, but the government trying to overreach more into every pore and crevice of our lives? Okay. They'll reach down your backside and stick a finger in you real good if you're not paying attention. Oh, wait, no, they'll do it if you are paying attention, because why would they give a care? Okay. So right now, they're just bending us over. Okay. And they didn't even get us dinner yet, Well, I mean, they did send out those checks, right? Last year, those 3 little teeny checks, but that didn't help. Those were almost gone before you got them. It's kind of very disappointing the way America is going. And these people are in Congress and in the White House calling themselves our leaders. Where are you leading us to? Our doom? That's where you're leading us. Then, what else did they give us? These crazy shutdowns. Oh no, the crazy shutdowns. And this is an important thing. Where were the longest and most severe lockdowns? New York and California. Where do most of our shipped goods come from? New York and California. Okay, wait a second. So the shutdowns were in New York and California, where most of our goods come from. And then that impacted us there with inventory, stuff to purchase, stuff to buy, and as well as supply, right? Okay. So lockdowns ended. You'd say, okay, well, maybe things will get better, Well, people don't want to come to work. Okay. I'll bite. People don't want to come to work. I got you. They were getting free stuff, and people don't want to come to work and come back out and get stuff done now. Got you. So that happened, right? But then all of a sudden, now they've got these vaccine mandates, firing the people that are actually coming to work. Firing the people that are actually coming to work. When we know that there's a large amount of attrition in jobs right now, which means people are running away, okay, from jobs that are in the jobs. They're just gone. We've got, and before the pandemic, we had it, they were calling it, what were they saying it was? They were saying it's like the decade of ghosting, okay? Where people will apply for a job or show up one time and then just never come back. So this was an issue before the pandemic. So you're going to fire the people, a lot of them, especially the people in the healthcare facilities that were working through some of the harshest, most rigorous conditions. Okay. But aside from that, you're also going to implement serious laws in California to prevent truckers that own their own trucks from actually being able to push goods because they need to be union, they need to have these qualifications, the trucks can only produce these many emissions, restriction upon restriction upon restriction upon restriction, just making it more and more difficult for people to actually do the jobs that they've been doing this whole time while we're allegedly in a recovery. Okay. This doesn't look like a recovery to me. This looks like every time we're almost about to get somewhere, they find another way to slap the Jesus out of us, okay, and knock us back on our ass. And that's problematic because these people are supposed to be leading us somewhere positive, but they're leading us to our doom. And I'm going to need you guys to wake up. I'm going to need you guys to speak up. I'm going to need you guys to stand up because I do it all the time myself. And me doing it alone is not going to get us where we need to be. More people like you, yourself, and anybody else listening, or friends or family that have similar concerns need to start standing up, okay, and demanding from our government that they do better, okay, and that they actually deliver, holding them accountable for what they tell us that they're going to do. You know, do you know that most of this money isn't going to be spent that's in the infrastructure bill for another 10 years? Did you know that? Did you? Isn't that interesting? Like, we're supposed to be in a recovery right now, right? But you're not even going to spend the money? What are you going to do? Invest it in the stock market? Come on now. Like, this is it's just like counterproductive, and it's clearly counterproductive, right? Like, for that, they could have just put that money, give that money to everybody. You know, I mean, not that I'm saying that they should do that. I'm not for that, but then talking about the lockdowns, right? And talking about the people being pushed out of their jobs because of the mandates for a cocktail that doesn't really fit the qualifications to be called a vaccine, which they had to change the definition of a vaccine on the CDC website so it can be called a vaccine, which also, on top of that, doesn't prevent you from catching it. It doesn't prevent transmission, and it doesn't prevent death. And now here's the real kicker on that, right? The manufacturers, the drug companies never promised you that. Boom. Boom. They never promised you that. So why do you think that? Because the media told you that. Because these damn talking heads from the administration told you that. Because these damn butt cheeks in Congress told you that. Okay? Because they're trying to manipulate your mind, warp your perception on what's going on so that you feel like, because Americans want a quick fix, a quick fast fix, you know, because if it takes more than 3 minutes, we're not with it. Austin, I feel like that's about the attention span of the average American right now. 3 minutes. It's, you know what? Not even 3 minutes, is it, Austin? It's about 2 minutes and 30 seconds right now, right?
Yeah, roundabouts.
Roundabout, because all of the songs, you know, songs used to be like 10, 15 minutes when we were little. We were listening to our parents' records and stuff. They'd be like 10, 15 minutes.
Oh, sure. Yeah, you can listen to a whole album.
You know?
Yeah.
So you had a real album. Then the songs started getting less and less long. You know, then it was 5 minutes. Then it was 3 minutes and 30 seconds. Now it's 2 minutes and 30 seconds, or even in some cases, 2 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
Like, what was that one song they had? Gucci band, Gucci band, Gucci band, Gucci band, Gucci.
Gucci Gang. Yeah.
Gucci gang.
Yeah.
What was it? Something like that. Right.
Yeah.
Like, that's all that they said in the whole song. Like, you know, we make jokes that a whole song is just repetitive. No. The whole song is just repetitive. That's all that it was. Oh my goodness. Like, this is America. You guys got to get it together. Like, I love my country. I love my nation. Okay. But we got to get it together. We, the people, got to fix this shit because the government's not going to do it. And if we stay with this short attention span type of situation, it's not going to get us where we need to go. Let's see. We got a comment in here. Oh. Yep. It says, Chad says, careful. The truth is like kryptonite to the progressive left. It's the truth. It's the sad truth. When you start talking about things that are real, people don't want to hear it, and they'll start screaming or yelling or chastising you or whatever. So they don't hear that people can't hear what you're saying, or they don't want to listen, or they think that you're crazy because you're telling them the actual truth. Again, I'm gonna say this again. The drug companies that are the manufacturers of these cocktails that they're telling you to put in your body, now they're on the third shot, then they want you to get a fourth one if you're immunocompromised already. They never, ever, not one time did they say that it will prevent you from catching it, it will prevent you from transmitting it, or it will prevent you from dying from it. All they said is that it is a preventative, palliative care measure. Okay? So what is it doing? All it's doing is lessening the likelihood that in the likelihood that you catch it, that in the likelihood, remember now, follow me on this one because you're going to have to follow it, that in the slim likelihood that you are to get it, under the additional slim likelihood that you would experience symptoms, under the additional way extremely unlikelihood that you'll experience severe symptoms, you may possibly experience less possible severe symptoms. Wait a second. Did you hear all of those possibilities? And that's where their percentages come from. You're not, what was it? It's 95. Let's talk about Pfizer, right? What was it 95% they were saying? You're 95% less likely in the case that you were likely to possibly experience the possibility of having severe symptoms, that you'll experience less severe symptoms. Not that you won't experience severe symptoms at all, that you'll experience less severe symptoms. So if you would have had 3, you'll probably only have 2. It's like, come on, people. So speaking on that, let's talk about the grand wide world that we live in right now. So if you've been paying attention, and I've talked about this before on this particular podcast, what's going on in Australia where they're locking down everybody, whether you're vaccinated or unvaccinated, you can't come out your house or anything. I'm not going to rehash that right now, but basically they've turned Australia back into a prison colony. Okay. Not even able to leave your house to go get food or anything like that. It's almost as bad as China, communist China right now. But I mean, hey, right? If it stops people from possibility of possibly catching something, which they have a 99.7% of survival from, it's worth it. Allegedly. I mean, that doesn't make sense to me or anybody that can count like 1, 2, 3. But if they scare you enough that there's a possibility that somebody out there might die, and that they can frame it in the possibility of that person that could possibly die might be you, well, hell, they can terrify the living bejesus out of you. And if they can terrify you like that, okay, then they can do anything to you. There was I want to say that the anime that I was watching was The Witcher, but it might have been Castlevania. Matter of fact, I think it was Castlevania. And in it, there was this bad guy, and he said that it's easy to take people's meager possessions when they are filled with terror. But isn't that the world that we're living in right now? Aren't they stealing away everything from us right now? Our ability to go outside, our ability to exercise, our ability to get food for ourselves, our ability to work, okay, our ability to provide for ourselves. They're taking everything away from us. Little by little by little, they are chipping away at all of our freedoms, rights, and liberties, and our ability to provide for ourselves, making us more dependent on the government, making us suffer even more, making us more likely to capitulate to whatever it is that they want us to do today. This is a very dangerous path, and we have to turn from this path and say, no, we will not go. And we have to say it very loud with authority, okay? Because all of the elected officials are supposed to represent us, not themselves, not their own interests, okay? Us. We, the people. Okay. Don't forget that. They'll try to make you forget that. Okay. But don't. Somebody comment what we got. Okay. It's a preemptive therapeutic at best. That's all that the shot is. Mike C says. It's the truth. Now, we spoke about Australia, but have you guys heard? Have you heard the word? The word? No, I'm not talking about the bird. I'm talking about Austria. Dun dun dun. Eins fine. Build an empire. So Austria, that's where the fucking Nazis came from, right? So, excuse me, not the Nazis, the Third Reich. Okay, whatever. Same difference, right? So, with the Nazis and Austria, let's talk about current day Austria. So, Austria the other day, I think it's about 3 days ago now, just implemented a severe restriction on anybody who's not vaccinated from being able to go out in public. They're locking vaccinated people in their houses, okay? Now that doesn't seem to make much sense, right? Why are they locking all the unvaccinated people in their houses? Oh, right, because they want you to think that they're the ones causing the issues. However, we know through all of the stuff that's coming out, and even in a lot of leftist media right now, it's coming out that it's not a issue with the unvaccinated people. The vaccinated people are the ones that are experiencing more issues with actually catching COVID. Okay. And that's a scary thought. It's a scary thought. Everybody wants to put it on somebody and make them the boogeyman so that they can have a way to pawn off the issue, And all that this is medical apartheid. Okay. Medical segregation. Okay. And it's not okay because it's really a class issue, right? Because the less affluent you are, the less likely you are to have been taking these cocktails. So it's very interesting what's going on in Austria right now, as that they are limiting the mobility of those individuals who are not vaccinated. Now, here's the kicker, right? They're 70% vaccinated in Austria. So what's the problem, right? But then we take a look at it and we look at places like Israel. Israel's about, I think, what's Israel about? 85% vaccination rate. Maybe they're up to 90 something now.
I have no idea.
Yeah, but it's really high. It's really high. So if you don't pay attention, you'll miss these things. But they're experiencing a huge boom. Boom. Okay. As far as cases go, deaths and everything. And it's not amongst the people who are unvaccinated because they can't blame it on them because almost everybody's vaccinated there. But do you know what they're doing now over there in Israel? You can't come in the country unless you've had a third booster. Okay. England's starting to do the same thing. You got to have your third booster. Okay. If you don't get it, you won't be considered fully vaccinated. And I want to say 2, maybe 3 Sundays ago now, the director of the CDC got on the TV. I think it was whatever the Sunday show is, Meet the Press or one of them. And she was like, we're not going to vaccinate or booster our way out of this. And we're going to be changing the definition of what fully vaccinated means to encompass all of the boosters. Well, wait, we're not vaccinating our way out of this. Then what are we doing? Make it make sense. Okay. So again, back to Austria and their lockdowns. Okay. They are having roving police forces randomly check people's papers in Austria. Just randomly going up to people. Papers, please. Papers, please. Papers, please. In Austria? Austin, have you heard of that before? Austria checking for people's papers? Does that sound familiar to you?
I have no idea what you could be alluding to.
Could that possibly be resembling what happened in Nazi Germany under the Third Reich?
Oh my gosh.
What? when they had those Geno passports. You know, if you weren't the right if you weren't the right type of person, individual, genealogically, you couldn't go anywhere. You couldn't do anything. Wait, this seems like that all over again. So the interesting thing here is that the people did over there did protest a little bit. Well, a lot of it. Thousands and thousands of them went out in the streets and stuff like that. But my concern is we are in America, people, and this is news that's not getting out to the American public. Hello, we saw the protests in Spain. We saw the protests in Portugal. We saw the protests in Italy. We saw the protests in England. We saw the protests in massive protests in France. They're still protesting in France against these vaccine passports. Okay. If you guys don't realize that if we don't do something here in America right now, it will come here, and it is already here, because the federal government is trying to come up with an international passport system. Okay, you guys have to pay attention. Okay, we are in peril. Okay, sound the alarm. Okay, raise the flag. Okay, bang the drums. Ring the bell. All of it. We are in peril, and if we as a people, the people, don't stand up right now and address it with our politicians that are our elected officials, that are our representatives in this representative republic that we have, we will continue to see our rights, liberties, and freedoms eroded. Okay. We will continue to see them wipe their bum with our Constitution. We will continue to see them make us more and more dependent on our federal government. Okay. We have to stand up now. We have to address these issues. Write your Congress people, write your local elected officials, write your legislator, your town council, your city council, okay, your town supervisor, whatever, that we don't want this. Okay. We are tired of the government overreach, and we are not going to stand for any more. Okay. It's concerning, to say the least, right? Like, and I think that the really, really concerning part to me is that I don't see a lot of people in America standing up. And I guess one of the big reasons is that they don't see other people standing up. You know, you might have to be the first person in your family or your friend group or in your neighborhood or in your city to stand up and say that this is nonsense. And you know that you might be chastised, that you might be ridiculed, but you know that what you're doing is right. I'm not telling you to go be Jesus, but I'm telling you that if we don't stand up, we're going to lose our future forever right now. We're seeing what's going on in Australia. That's a harbinger. We're seeing what just happened in Austria. If you're not paying attention, this will be here next soon. And that's why we as Americans, the last bastion of light in a dying dark day, need to arise and be that shining beacon that we are supposed to be, of freedom, liberty, okay? And individuality, because they're trying to strip that away from you too. If you don't fit their preconceived 50 million different whatever intersectional gobbledy wherever is whatever the flavor that they want this week, you're out. Don't be left out. This is our country. We are all in, and you have to be all in. So if we don't throw our lot together and say that we will stand up, nothing will happen. Okay. I don't know if you guys know that the poem that came out of World War II, the "We Didn't Speak Up." Do you guys know that poem? Austin, do you know that poem?
Yeah.
You do not? Ooh, can you recite it?
Oh, I'm sorry. I know of it. I know. And then they came for me.
Yeah, and then they came for me.
Yeah.
So that's the poem, you guys. And then they came for me. And I'm going to read it for you guys real quick if you don't remember it. Okay. So, excuse me. First, oh, here it goes. First, they came for the socialists, and I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. And then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me. And that's really where we are, you guys. It's time for us to speak up before it's too late for all of us. It's supposed to be the United States of America. Now is the time to put our differences aside, whatever they may be, race, color, creed, religious belief, or whatever. And it's time for us to stand up in unity and solidarity and say, we are not about to let the government bend us over and fuck us. Okay? Because what's happening right now is akin to rape. Okay? And I know, like, I don't throw that term around lightly. Like, it really is. They're forcing us to do things against our will, and in most cases against our better judgment. And this isn't something that's okay. This is why we have to stand up now, because we don't want to be Austria. We don't want to be Australia. We don't want to go to medical segregation, which is already happening in New York City and other parts of the country. We have to stand up now, because if we don't, that light, that small candle in the darkness, will be snuffed out. But we have to light that flame stronger and give it more fuel and stand up. Just please stand up. Be that light in your community. Be that light in your neighborhood. Be that light that other people need to encourage them to stand up against this grievous government overreach. I appreciate you guys listening this evening. Tune in next week, next Tuesday, 6 p.m. to Marcus Made in America on the We the People podcast network. We care about America. We care about you, because we are the people. Be blessed and be well.